Leshy, and the Vodyanoi. The legends, tales, songs, and proverbs of the ancient Slavonic people who lived in the Balkans and Central and Eastern Europe are peopled by mysterious beings with strange, magical properties. Immense areas covered with forests, marshes, lakes, and rivers were occupied by the Slavs. They fished, hunted, and reared cattle in open spaces amid vast forests where they grew corn. Isolated in small groups of families, they were helpless before the forces of nature, and so they invented strange creatures to provide an explanation for the happenings they could not understand. They filled the clouds, the earth, forests, rivers, fields, stables, and houses with mysterious gods which controlled the storms, the flooding of rivers, the growth of good or bad crops, and the wonder of day and night. Their explanations rid them of the fears of ordinary natural happenings and gave rise, in their stories, to the existence of some wonderful creatures. One of these was Leshy, the spirit of the forest, whose name comes from the Slavonic word les, meaning forest. Leshy is supposed to have had a human shape, but because its blood was blue, its cheeks had a bluish tinge. It had green eyes, which often popped out of their sockets, tufted eyebrows, and a beard that was long, green, and straggling. According to some stories, it wore a red sash, put its left shoe on its right foot, and buttoned its cloak the wrong way round. Not only did the Leshy throw no shadows, but it could also change its shape. If it were walking in the forest, its head would reach the top of the tallest tree. But when it was strolling on the edge of the forest among low bushes and grass, it became a dwarf, tiny enough to hide under a leaf. Each Leshy had its own kingdom, which it guarded proudly, and would not enter a neighbor's land. And woe betide and stranger who strayed into the Leshy's kingdom. If a man came looking for mushrooms, or a hunter wandered too far into the woods, the Leshy would make him get lost. Though the hunter plunged through the wood helplessly in each direction, the Leshy always brought him back to the spot from which he had started. Luckily, the Leshy was a good-natured sprite who always let its victim go in the end, especially if the lost person knew how to free himself from the spell. To do this, the wanderer had to sit down under a tree trunk, take off his clothes, and put them on again backwards. It was very important not to forget to put the left shoe on the right foot. At the beginning of every October, the Leshies died temporarily, or, at any rate, disappeared until the following spring. When they came back with the warmer weather, the Leshies were filled with anger and were wild and dangerous as they roamed the forests. Strange sounds like laughter, sobbing, or cries and screeches like those of savage beasts or birds of prey were all said to be made by Leshies. According to some legends, each Leshy had a wife, who was called a Leshachika, and children who were Leshonki. If the ancient Slavonic people left the forests to escape the Leshy, they were still not free from strange beings. While they lived by streams, lakes, pools, or rivers, they had a mysterious enemy in the form of the Vodyanoi. Its name comes from the word voda, which means water, for the Vodyanoi was a water sprite. Different descriptions are given of the Vodyanoi's appearance. In some stories, it has a human face and a tail, long horns, eyes like burning coals, and big toes. Others describe it as a moss and grass-covered giant with a human shape, but it was sufficiently frightening to warn people away from the perils of deep water in the dark woods of the Balkans. Ancient legends taught people to respect forests and waters by imagining powerful spirits within them.